Hey everyone, Mac is back. Today I want to talk about the female commander lineup, how how to put it together, which commanders to use, obviously females, but which female commanders, and why we want to use those. And I'm also going to go over a report to kind of show you the power of such a lineup and why I recommend it for one of the lineups that you could possibly put together. There are obviously many ways to go about creating your PvP lineups, but I just wanted to talk about the female aspect, and let's get to it. So here is a lineup that you want to that is most optimal for an infantry front line. That's why Lats is in here. Obviously, you're going to want Selma 4 stars, Annie 4 stars, Arya, and Layla. When it comes to Lats, her 4-star ability is actually quite bad, so I wouldn't have her. I wouldn't have her 4 stars, and we'll go over those abilities here shortly. But I would not have. I only have her 3 stars just to get the stats that you need for that front line. Now, if you don't have infantry frontline, then you want to take her out and you want to add in either your cav or your spear commander, depending on who you might have. Or you might also might want to consider putting Julian in there, just because he'll if you're running a 3-troop line, he would be very good for that because he gives the stats for every single one. If you don't aren't running running a 2-troop line, maybe then in that case you might want to try to go for the front line there. So maybe like Gorell's, because he's actually really good. Or if you had Miranda awaken to 3 stars, she's putting up really good for your front line as well. Hector's kind of in that same boat. Make sure that they are useful for you as well for that front line. Like Jamie he'd be okay for a spear front line. His ability, his skill, his 4-star skill, it needs healing to work. So if you don't have any healers, like in here, they're not healers, so you wouldn't be as effective. So you might not want to do that. Not many people run the Cav front line, but if you do run the Cav front line, then Rob would be decent. Enzo would be amazing because he has that 40% across the board. Plus, when you awaken him, if you have him to 3 stars, he's going to be I want to say it's like 90% with the Cav health, attack, and defense. So it's really, really good. So that's kind of where you are with these commanders, but let's go take a look at their awakening skills. So the question becomes, why a female lineup? And as I've previously stated, the awakening skills are the reason for this. And the biggest one is Layla. And I've talked about this many times, but her Mama Bear Frenzy is always worth mentioning again. When your female commanders use their active skills, that skill will have a 30% chance of being used 2 times, a 10% chance of being used 3 times, and a 3% chance of being used 4 times. So there's a chance that they will be able to do extra damage 2, 3, or 4 times. Not just once, but a double the amount of times. So 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, which is absolutely amazing. So the synergy that actually is working with her is when you have Selma at 4 stars as well, because her 4-star ability is going to be at the start of the battle. Allied female commanders have an 80% chance to use their active army skill 1 time directly. So if they have an 80% chance of using that skill, if they use it, then that could also proc the Layla skill as well. So that would give you even more damage. And this is at the very beginning of the battle, even before there's any fighting going on between the troops. So you can already eliminate some of their troops already. I've seen it where it's knocked down the wall. So you've actually lessened that damage as well. So you're where the damage you'd be from the bows you could be taking from their castle. So the commanders will actually take down their wall before the battle begins, which is nice as well. And then it says, but normal attacks from the female commanders, but they belong to, have a 30% chance of missing the enemy for the first 5 seconds. And I'll show you why that isn't as significant as you would think. Although there is a chance that could happen, but I'll explain that later. So those are the 2 commanders that really do have a really good kind of mesh together, which is very, very nice. And the other commanders, they're good, but they're not as good as those 2 combined. But that's why you want to look for the best female commander, so that when you have Annie here, it says when casting an active army skill, directly wipe out 3% of the target's currently deployed troops. value cannot exceed 3% of Annie's currently deployed troops. So whenever an active skill is cast, then you can actually eliminate more troops that way. And if this is being cast several times, then you're, by proccing with, say, Layla or even Salma, then it's very, very nice to have this at 4 stars. So highly recommend this one as well to be getting to 4 stars and having her in there, because also on top of that she has the totals, attack, health, and defense, which are very, very nice, so you'll like that as well. And the reason I went back to Lats and you don't really want her to 4 stars is because her skill is essentially having a 5% defense, which is really, and it can stack, of course, up to 30%. So it gives you some defense, but that's really not that great of a 4-star. It's not worth those 320 tokens that you're going to want to get. And it has a healing effect as well, and the healing, it really isn't significant either. So you really don't want her in there for this kind of lineup. You probably want her in there with Jamie, because Jamie gets that healing, so that'd be something as well. We talked about Arya before, and her ability is she can put that death marker down and deal an extra skill damage of 20%, and that will stack. I've seen that stack up to 100% before. So you just never know what what could happen with her being proccing off many times as well. So if you have 5 female commanders in there, they're very, very good having them on there. There are other ones that you could possibly think about putting in there depending on who you might have, but as of right now, those are probably the best ones. I'm kind of waiting to see what Rey awakened, if she'll be better than maybe somebody else that they already have in there. So very good commanders to have. So here is the report that I wanted to show you, and as you can see here, Chidori has all 5 of the commanders that I just previously talked about, and they're all 5 stars as well. So the only other reason that you'd want to have maybe Lats to 5 stars is that she would actually get her ability off, her skill off, that one extra time during that battle, depending on how long the battle would last. But I want to look at the battle record. So just to give you an idea here, we have it's a rally of about 5.2 million troops into a castle for about 5.3 million troops. So not a fair battle. Obviously, you can see there's 800,000 damage here compared to 97 million here, so it's quite lopsided. But I just want to show you kind of why that is beyond just the stats themselves. And the first thing you want to look at is the 1 second after combat. And if you look at that 1 second, the reinforcement skills in there, the special effect. But then we get down here to Selma. That's where it essentially explains exactly what the skill was before. And then you go down further, so then Lats got targeted. Lats targeted the enemy wall, so that procced off from Selma. That's one. Selma procced herself, and then when proccing herself, she attacked the cavalry, and they lost almost 100,000, 94,000 cavalry. And this is at 1 second. This is before the battle's even beginning. And then Annie got procced as well, and over 136,000 cavalry dead. So massive amount of damage right there, and then actually destroyed that lineup too. Arya put down her marker, so she's doing 20% more damage. She did 67,000, and then Layla got hers off. That's 94,000. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm sorry, 5. So every single one of the commanders there got their skill off, and the damage, as you can see, is pretty massive here at 392,000 dead just right off the bat. They got that much damage. Like, that's how incredibly powerful this lineup can be. And then when we're talking about the 30% chance of missing in the first 5 seconds, well, let's go take a look at that. The very next thing we have to look at here is the 4 second mark. So between 2 and 3, those 2 seconds don't even matter. There's no action whatsoever going on there. And then looking here, Lats got her Soul Awakening off, which Soul Awakening skill, which we really don't care about too much. But then as you go down further, we're talking about that 30% chance. Well, clearly that didn't happen here because there's attacks going off. So you're not seeing that. You're not seeing that right there. And then the 5 second mark, same type of thing. We could look at that, or are we seeing any of that as well here? There's not a whole lot of fighting going on. So at the very beginning there, those first 5 seconds, so 2 of them are not, 1 second, 2 second, and 3 second, you're not seeing anything at all. So that's 3 seconds of nothing. And then the 4 and the 5, you're still not seeing it. And even if it did have a slight chance of doing that, the damage would be a little bit, I would say it would be minimal, but it wouldn't be as big a deal because it's only those 2 seconds. So quite massive amount of damage. And then if you even go down further, I don't know if this thing will even last that long. Here you can see the big damage here at 11 seconds. So if we click on 11 seconds, this is when the commanders get their skills off. Their attacks, so you get Latstead here, Selma, and then Layla. That triggered the follow-up because you have the dragon follow-up skill was there. Of course, the dragon's going to launch dragon attack. Then there you get that plus the healing from the dragon assist, and you go down further and you can see that the amount of damage is just being done by those commanders is pretty massive. So I hope this gives you a really better idea of if you want to push for having this lineup, having this four female lineups. Like there are obviously different ways I've explained how you can do this, but I think this is one of the better ways to do it as well, just because of the synergy that the commanders have with each other. So until next time, Mac out.